Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about what is up with red ink tattoos. Not too long ago, I did a video on what is up with white ink tattoos, and Jet Traps commented that we need another on red ink. So here we are. Thank you so much for the suggestion, Jet. If you guys ever have any ideas on videos you'd like to see from me, feel free to leave those in the comments below. Once I started looking into red ink tattoos, many alarming news articles popped up. So let's get down to the bottom of what these red tattoos are all about, and if there's anything you should really be worried about. So red ink tattoos, you know them, you've seen them, maybe on Kylie Jenner. She's known for having a few of these tiny little red ink only tattoos on her. I think a good amount of them are done by Bang Bang in NYC. At least one of them is done by John Boy, but she's definitely known for these really dainty, delicate red line tattoos. In general, I've been seeing red ink only tattoos become pretty popular online, and I'll show a few up here now. You see a lot of dragons, snakes, butterflies, script, flowers, and more. These tattoos are really beautiful, definitely very delicate, but striking in a really subtle way. A common misconception is that red ink tattoos will only show up well on lighter skin tones, but that is definitely not the case. While they will have a higher contrast on a lighter skin tone, red ink tattoos can be incredibly beautiful and vibrant on darker skin tones, and it really comes down to the tattoo artist knowing how to apply color well depending on their client's skin pigment. I'll link a great article down below for more information on color tattoos on darker skin tones. Tan Parker, the creator of Ink the Diaspora, was interviewed by Cosmopolitan magazine, where they debunked myths regarding tattooing darker skin tones. I will just read one pretty powerful quote from Tan in the article. They say, "Being a skilled tattoo artist means you know how to tattoo on all skin tones, not just lighter ones." If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm a big fan of Tan. Please go give them a follow at Ink the Diaspora. So the symbolism behind getting a red ink only tattoo is very interesting, but it's also very subjective person by person. According to the website colormeanings.com, red is the color of passion and energy. Red draws attention like no other color and radiates a strong and powerful energy. Red is also linked to sexuality in a lot of different ways, but with any art form, the meaning is so subjective and so personal. So if you want a red ink tattoo and none of these really resonate with you, don't worry about it. These are just general associations. The meaning also really varies culturally. So for example, red is really popular in Chinese culture as a symbol of good fortune and joy, and is widely used in many celebrations and holidays. So now to get into the potential downsides of getting tattooed with red ink. There are some reports that red ink tattoos can cause skin irritation more so than other tattoo ink colors. Erin Resnick wrote this article for Birdie magazine entitled, "Here's Why the Red Ink in Your Tattoo is So Prone to Itchiness." In the article, they are quoted to say they have encountered bumps, rashes, slow healing speed, and general itchiness in the red, and only in the red parts of their body art. There hasn't been a lot of research done on tattoo reactions in general. The only evidence we really have is from clinics where people have gone to when they specifically have bad reactions. Dr. Sean Quatra, who's an assistant professor of dermatology at Johns Hopkins, says, quote, "We see a lot of people come into our clinic with some bad tattoo reactions. The reaction can be to any color, but most typical are yellow and red." What we have to keep in mind moving forward is that these are just highlighting the worst case scenarios for people who have had really bad tattoo reactions and have gone into clinics to be seen by a doctor. So not everyone with a bad tattoo reaction is being seen by doctors in clinics, and some people might even be having negative reactions to their tattoos and not even really know it or notice. But it does seem like there is a trend that when there is a pretty bad negative reaction, it's more often than not in cases of red ink. I quickly want to note that I'm particularly sensitive to seeing images of tattoos with bad reactions. So if I do include any images in this section, they will be on the very mild side. But if you would not like to see even that, look for the symbol in the corner of my video. I'm going to have that pop in 3 seconds before the image pops up. So if you don't want to see that, just cover that or skip ahead if you're similarly sensitive to seeing images like that. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, quote, "The allergic response can occur immediately, weeks later, and surprisingly even years and decades later." That does kind of surprise me because you could get tattooed today and be totally fine for like 10 years, and I guess an allergic reaction can just pop up, which is pretty wild to think about. Even so, most reactions to red ink tattoos tend to be pretty mild. So this includes conditions like redness, itchiness, soreness, and raised skin. You can see in this image that there is a clear difference between the red parts and the black, that the red did irritate this person's skin quite a bit. So for why this is happening, it comes down to the ingredients that make the red pigment in the tattoo ink. And red dye specifically is actually pretty irritable to most people in a lot of different ways, not just in tattoo ink. And specifically, red dye number 40 is our enemy. It's our biggest enemy. We hate it. And what's crazy is that red dye number 40 is actually one of the most widely used food dyes according to Healthline. So if you think about the color red in general, in food or in makeup, for example, it tends to be harder to get out of things once you've put it onto something, and it like stains and it stays there. So the staying power of the color is really great. So that's why it's great for tattooing. But in turn, the pigments that make that can be really irritating for your body. You don't even have to be that sensitive to it for that to happen. So if red ink is made organically, it's usually made with something called carmine. You may have heard of this. It's a pigment that is actually made from bugs, and that's what makes the red color organically. And if you're synthetically making red, you would have to be using some metals in the pigment. Now, food dyes and food pigments do have to be approved by the FDA, but if you've been watching my channel, you know that the FDA does not regulate tattoo ink. So it's a little bit more risky to be tattooed with red ink than to necessarily like eat a candy that has red dye 40 in it. Something to consider as well, because of the staying power of red ink, it can also be pretty difficult to remove. If you ever choose to remove that ink, you might just be in for a longer process. Now, this all sounds pretty concerning. I mean, I have tattoos with red ink as well, so we're all in this boat together. And I do want to assure you guys that there are safe ways to be tattooed with red ink. Since it is so dependent on your own skin as well as the specific ink that the tattooer is using, if you're thinking about getting a red ink tattoo, what's recommended is if you go to that tattoo artist and tell them that you're thinking about getting a red ink tattoo by them, but you'd like to do a patch test first, just to see how your skin reacts to the ink. So you can do a little patch test on an area of skin that isn't that visible and sit with that and see how your skin reacts to it if you are really concerned about your potential sensitivity to red ink. You can also ask your tattoo artists and make sure that they're using a high quality tattoo ink just to be sure. So for example, Eternal Ink is a vegan and cruelty-free tattoo ink brand, and according to Irene Resnick, it's considered a gold standard for quality in the tattoo artist world. Eternal Ink even goes above and beyond any laws around sterility and has their tattoo inks certified sterile. So you could request that your tattoo artist use Eternal Ink just because it's a little more safe, or you can go to someone who already uses these type of inks if you'd prefer that. But that's all I have for you guys. As always, I'm never trying to persuade you one way or the other. I'm just presenting you with the information that I found on red ink so you can make an educated decision for yourself on whether or not you think this is right for you personally. Definitely let me know what you think down below. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have, leave me this emoji in the comments so I know that you are a real one. Bye guys.